Hello and welcome to my backyard on Vancouver Island. If you're new here, my name is Lisa and this is my gardening channel, Growing on Vancouver Island. And it is so beautiful today on Vancouver Island. I normally do a garden tour every Saturday and I just didn't feel like doing all the editing that is required to make a YouTube video. I just spent like 6 hours editing a video that I'm going to post probably this Sunday. So I was like, I am not doing more editing for another YouTube video. We are doing this live. So we are live in my backyard garden, and this whole tour is going to be just in the backyard garden. So let's get started. My garden is I've been gardening here for 10 years, but this garden itself is about 17 years old. There is landscaping that is that old, and there's fresh landscaping planted within the last few days. It ranges. So let's take a look at what is in this backyard garden. Right behind me, this is my 5-variety plum tree. I'll give you, turn around the camera, and you can take a look at it. Here it is. This tree is about 9 to 10 years old. I would say closer to 10 years old. And it is just full of flowers. This is a combination fruit tree from Costco. I've talked about it quite a bit on this channel. Let's take a look at the flowers and see if we can see any bees. I can hear them, but do we see them? Oh, there's a bee or a wasp. Someone is buzzing around the tree. I'll show you the varieties. This is technically a 6 variety. We grafted another variety onto the tree, but these were the original varieties. Plum Beauty, Blue Damson, Yellow Egg, Brooks, and Samsua. And I will say, of all the years growing plums on this tree, Blue Damson and Brooks are definitely, well, I'd say Blue Damson is definitely the most prominent variety on this tree. And the other varieties, they do come and go. Some years you get more than others, but Blue Damson definitely dominates this tree. We also grafted, we being my dad and I, also grafted a Italian prune plum onto the tree. I think that was about 2 years ago now, and last year it did flower, but we didn't get any plums. So fingers crossed this year that the grass will actually produce plums. I can actually see one still. Let's take a look at it. Where that pink tag is on the tree, that was a graft from a couple years ago, and it does have flowers, I think, or does it? Oh no, if you look, it blooms at a different time. Those buds aren't open yet, so that variety will bloom a little bit later, and hopefully it does actually get some plums this year. It's a pretty good sized tree, and I prune it pretty heavily every year. You can see, there it is. Let's take a look at my cottage garden. This is definitely a work in progress. Is the camera gonna focus? I just did a little bit of soil mulch sifting around there yesterday, and I pulled a lot of weeds out, and I finally have tulips. I am so excited. If you watched some of my previous videos, you know about my struggles of tulip growing with the rodents early on in this garden. And in the fall, I made a tulip repelling mulch. A rodent repelling mulch, and I also bought a chicken manure rodent repelling mulch, and they both worked, which was so exciting because I finally get to enjoy these tulips. Now, just pink, white, and purple, and this is what I ended up with, but I don't care. I love the color. There's more color over here. There's so vibrant pops of color in the garden. So light. I really enjoy the color. And we'll come this way. You can see more tulips. And here, this is my oregano. I have it growing here, there, and everywhere in the cottage garden. It is just going crazy. And this is a foxglove. And we've got roses putting on new growth, and these are yarrow coming back. There's a few of them in this flower bed. Lots more oregano at the back. And these really big shrubs. Hello, Faye. Gracie's Home and Gardens. Nice to see you, a fellow Canadian. And these shrubs, you see the three big ones, those are boxwoods. And they were part of the original landscaping in this garden. I didn't plant those. So these are about 17 years old, the boxwoods. And if you look this way, this little privacy hedge, those are emerald cedars, and they are also about 17 years old. And if we come this way, the beautiful flowers that you see right in front of you, this is my peach tree. If you watched my video from yesterday, I did a flower tasting video. And this is my coconut ice peach tree. I did a flower taste test for the first time. Those flowers are so delicious. You're driving to work, well, be careful. Be careful with your driving if you're watching YouTube. The flowers are so delicious on this tree. Out of all the flowers I've tasted, they absolutely taste the best. They are so sweet and so delicious. I'm definitely thinking about using them in maybe some baking or some drinks. I haven't decided yet, but definitely need to give that a try. And there's going to be a lot of peaches this season, most likely. Flowers don't guarantee peaches or any fruit, but there's a high probability with lots of flowers that you'll get lots of fruit. And I'll show you the information. I dug out the old tag from the tree for anyone who's interested in this peach tree. This is coconut ice, and I purchased this at the local Buckerfields. I get that question quite often in the comment section from people on Vancouver Island wondering where they can buy this tree. I got it 4 to 5 years ago at the Nanaimo Buckerfields, and I have not seen it since. That doesn't mean it's not out there. It probably is somewhere, but that particular year they got it in, and I'm so delighted that I got this tree because it is so good. Those peaches taste like tropical drinks. So if we look at the information here, coconut ice peach tree, and this is cold tolerant zone 5, average size 4 meters tall to 3 meters wide. It likes full sun, medium size rounded fruits, beautiful looking peaches with pink skin and crisp white flesh with just a hint of pink. I find it really interesting that they don't advertise the flavor of this peach because it is so unique and so different than most peaches. They really could do a better job marketing it, but it's delicious regardless. If you ever see this and you're in a zone 7 or 8, definitely pick this peach tree up if you have space for it in your garden. Hello, Bold Pictures Gardeners with Triskina. I'm not saying that right. Your hedges are too old. What do you mean they're too old? Do you think they're going to die soon? I mean, plants do have a lifespan, and that is certainly a possibility, but I'm not sure what you're meaning. Let's take a look at my Desert King fig trees. I have 2 of these. These are awesome trees if you live on Vancouver Island. They are very well suited to our climate here. They are really good producers, and they do really well in hot, dry conditions. I like to call this the desert area of my garden. It gets so hot and dry here, and still pretty early in the season. It is like I can't even remember what day it is, early April, and not too much is happening really on them. They have buds, but still a bit early to see any growth on the figs. Coming around this way, my roses are just starting to leaf out. This is my single pink knockout rose. And this here is a double pink knockout rose, a little further along than my other one. And coming up the gravel pathway, this is Autumn Joy Sedum, and it does really well in hot, dry locations. And some daffodils in bloom. Lots of Autumn Joy Sedum here. And this is a blueberry bush, and it is just starting to it gets leaves and flowers almost at the same time, which is kind of interesting. It's a good sized blueberry bush, and it has variable production. Some years it produces really well, and some years it produces really poorly. But I guess that's the same with most fruit trees and bushes. And this here is a Japanese maple, and I actually grew this from a seedling that I picked up at a local park. It was going to be weeded out. It was growing in a weird spot under some other Japanese maples, the mature ones, and I picked up the seedling when it was this big, and I grew it into this size of a tree, and that was about 9 years ago. It took 9 years to get this big. But if you are in the market for a Japanese maple and you can't afford to buy one, they are pretty easy to grow. If you see a garden in your neighborhood that has mature trees, chances are if there's a gravel sidewalk, there'll be some growing there, and you can just pluck them out and put them into your garden, and they will grow, and there you go, you have a free tree. These trees in most garden centers, at least on Vancouver Island, the average price is anywhere from about, I'd say $50 to $100 for a medium-sized tree. So if you can get your own for free, why not? I'll show you the leaves. This one is just starting to leaf out. Get some really nice sort of orangey colored leaves, and they get much more red come fall. And here we have a ground cover, and I have yet to figure out what the name of this one is. This was actually given to me by a neighbor in the first year I was gardening here, and they moved away, but they didn't know the name either. And it was literally a cutting. I stuck it in the ground and it grew, and it does really well. It gets this nice vibrant foliage. Doesn't really bloom, not evergreen, but it is a nice plant to have in the garden. If you know what this is called, let me know in the chat or the comments. I would love to know what this ground cover is called. And it looks like the neighbors just started cutting their grass. So that's going to make for a little bit of a loud live stream, but that is what it is. That is the nature of a live stream. So what you see across here, these are emerald cedars. I planted these 10 years ago. And they are water hogs. If I move to a new garden, I don't think I'll be planting them again. And the plant you see right here, this is a barberry bush. If you have any issues with security, I highly recommend these bushes. They are so prickly. I would equate them to be pricklier than the prickliest rose or blackberry bush. Their thorns are potent, possibly even pricklier than a really prickly cactus. You don't want to get these thorns in you. They are beautiful bushes. Like, the foliage is so vibrant. It gets hot fuchsia new growth when it starts growing, more in late spring. But they would be great for security. You could create a hedge of these. I have 2 of them. These were original landscaping to this property. I did not plant them. I would not probably choose them myself, but they are beautiful. I do prune them once or twice a year to keep them in the shape that they're in. And yeah, great for security purposes. If you needed security around your property and you wanted something that could cause prickles in somebody, then you could consider this bush. I think we are going to check out my apple trees next. These are my 5 variety Costco apple trees. They are just starting to put on growth. If you watched my channel for a while, you may have heard the story of these trees. This was the first tree I planted, and then I was never going to get a second tree. However, if you've been around for a while, you may know that I used to have a golden retriever who just passed away almost 3 months ago now. And when he was a puppy, he was absolutely wild. He was so wild. He did so much gardening of his own. And one thing that I assume he did, and it wasn't anybody else, although I didn't witness it, so I am making an assumption, was that he mauled this tree right here when it was in its first year of growth. He mauled it down to a stick that was about this big. And I was so devastated. I truly thought the tree was a goner, but my parents convinced me not to pull it out, leave it in. It was fall when the incident happened. Leave it until spring and see what happens. Sure enough, springtime came and a few little leaves poked their self out of the trunk of the tree, and I thought, oh my goodness, they were right. The tree survived, and it ended up being the best tree ever because its growth pattern is basically wide. I never ever would have gotten a tree like this if the supervisor hadn't mauled it to the ground. So in the end, his gardening really worked out in my favor. And in case you're wondering, no, he didn't get in trouble for his mauling of my apple tree. A puppy doesn't really know any better, especially when the incident has already happened hours later. So I did not scold him for wrecking the apple tree because in the end, he did a good job and he never would have known the difference anyways. It wasn't worth giving him a hard time about the apple tree, and I didn't witness it. So small chance it wasn't him, but most likely it was. Next, we're going to check out the other apple tree. Now, what happened was, because of the mauling, and I was quite devastated about losing my apple tree, assuming I lost it, I ended up getting a second apple tree, and that is the one over here. So this tree is 1 year old, 1 year less in age than this one over here. It is 1 year younger. And this is also a 5 variety combo tree from Costco. And I will show you the varieties. I have all of the original tags. Don't ask me why I kept them for 10 years or 9 years. And we have Gala, Gravenstein, Golden Delicious, Red Macintosh, and Spartan on this tree. And if you've watched my videos from last summer, fall, you saw how well these trees produce. They just went bananas with producing apples last season. Kind of crazy how many apples they produced. I would estimate between the two trees at least 500 apples, probably more. I had apples coming out of everywhere. I didn't know what to do with my apples. I gave so many apples away to lots of different people, groups, workplace, all kinds of places, and it was a lot of apples. I was very fortunate. So that is the apple tree. I think next we are going to venture onto the slope. And I'm going to show you some of those ground cover plants and how they're doing right now. And it is April. So right in front of us, these are another form of boxwood, a different variety. I don't actually know the name of this boxwood, but they were original landscaping. So these are actually about 17 years old. These boxwoods, they're pretty small. They don't seem to grow very big. I don't know if that is normal or if it's because the soil here is very infertile. When I started gardening here, like 10 years ago, I couldn't grow very few things, and I did talk to my neighbor at the time. And the reason I couldn't grow very much stuff here was because the previous owner who owned this property actually got the cheapest soil you could buy on Vancouver Island and had it delivered as the main soil for all of the garden areas that was basically put on top of the developer's fill that they used on this property. And let me tell you, cheap soil is not always a good thing. It is sometimes very infertile, doesn't grow much. I had areas of the garden where weeds wouldn't even grow. It was like just dry soil where nothing would grow. My cottage garden was a really good example of that in the beginning. The only things that would grow were those boxwoods, nothing else would grow. So over the years, I have used lots of fertilizers and lots of compost and lots of amendments, and things are finally growing. So that is the history of this property. Right in front of us, these boxwoods, I don't know if they are small because they're a small variety or small because of their history. Right beside them, this is a Candy Tough ground cover, and I did a taste testing of it yesterday, of the flowers, and they are super delicious. And I'm thinking of actually doing a spring salad video where I actually incorporate some of these flowers into my salad, and that is probably going to come soon. I might do that with another variety of video, but the flower tasting was so fun, and I do think I should start eating these more regularly because some of them are really delicious, and I bet you there's nutritional benefits, good nutritional benefits to eating these flowers. I have to do more research, and I don't know if anyone has actually researched. Hello, Crystal Pets and Plants, welcome. I am doing a garden tour of my backyard on Vancouver Island. Nice to see you. We're just talking about edible flowers right now, and yesterday I did a taste test of these. These are Candy Tough ground cover, and I'll give you another taste test. It's already on my channel. I did the taste testing video, but since I'm here and I'm right in front of them, why not? Oh yes, I do remember this from yesterday. This is really delicious. This is the one that, like, boom, hits you in the face with flavor. It's like a salad green. You could consider it a cross between the flavor of a nasturtium and the flavor of, say, an arugula green. If you were to blend those flavors together, that is very likely what a Candy Tough ground cover flower tastes like. That's what I would imagine anyways. So they are evergreen. Let's flip them around. And I garden in a zone 7 to 8. And this is what the spring flowers look like. They are very pure white and taste delicious. I didn't know they were edible until I did some research and found that out. And they very much are edible flowers. So let's take a look down on the slope. Right here, I have a creeping phlox that is just starting to bloom. And all of the creeping phlox that you see on this backyard slope, these were all divisions and propagations. My main plants are actually in my 1.5 to 2 years. I have done a ton of propagations and divisions of my creeping phlox plants. So everything on this slope is propagated. I didn't go and buy these ones for creeping phlox. I did buy a few other plants though. So yeah, this is what my creeping phlox looks like. It is just starting to bloom. Let's take a look at my perennial alyssum. It has got more flowers on it now. Right here, this is my perennial alyssum, and I actually saved the original tag. Don't ask me why. This is a hardy perennial called Golden Spring Alyssum. And it's great for rock gardens, dry areas, walls, and as an edging plant. This is what it looks like. And it is evergreen. My hose is kind of blocking the view. And let's see. Oh, there's so much writing on it. I won't read it all to you, but I believe it is pretty drought tolerant. I don't water much, especially in the summer. I should water more, and it survived a lot of drought, so I would assume it is actually a pretty drought tolerant plant. And moving up, right beside the Candy Tough, we have a white Argulia. Probably butchering the name. Abretia, not Agrulia. Abretia? That might not even be the right pronunciation. Another one with beautiful white flowers in the springtime. And this one is not evergreen, but it is absolutely gorgeous. Next, we have a purple, is it? Yes, it is a purple abretia. Also just starting to bloom. This is sort of a more pastel colored one. I have one that's a bit of a darker purple too that we'll get to. Coming this way, we have another creeping phlox propagation that is just starting to bloom, and right behind it, this is a Johnny Jump Up pansy. I have them all over my garden. I also taste tested these yesterday. They do taste delicious and would be a great addition to a spring or summer salad. These grow all over my garden. I planted them the first year I was gardening in the rock garden, or created the rock garden, which was about 5 years ago. And they have spread themselves everywhere, and I do not mind at all. They are just the sweetest flowers. And I have a dandelion. I am not the perfect gardener. They pop up everywhere. We're going to venture over to the other side of the slope now. And there is another Johnny Jump Up with the garden hose going right through it. Right here, let me swing around. I want to show you the whole plant. We're walking on a slope. And hope the snake is not out. There is a snake that seems to love living on the slope. This is my Johnny Jump Up, and believe it or not, all these flowers, this is one plant. It is kind of crazy. Gets so many blooms. And we also have some pure purple pansies right in front of them. Get off the slope for a minute. Right here. And they are growing amongst a whole bunch of poppy seedlings. So coming down this way, these are all creeping phlox. So many of them that are going to be in bloom very soon. And coming further over, my little hens and chicks. I have them planted in all kinds of little crevices, which I absolutely love, on the rocks. More dandelions at the bottom. And a whole crevice of hens and chicks right here. Coming this way, we have lemon balm, and I truly have a love-hate relationship with this plant. I got lemon balm and didn't really know how powerful it was. I planted it in a container the first year I got it for free on Facebook Marketplace, and it seeded itself all over my garden. It literally went in every place you can imagine. I'm pulling it out every season, and most of the time I can't get rid of it. It is beautiful. The bees love it. It smells good. You can put it in tea or lemonade, but try to get rid of it, at least on Vancouver Island, it's going to be tricky. These are all self-seeded from my neighbor's garden. I didn't plant any of them. And in fact, I tried to get rid of them for several years because they were growing right in the grass. I put those rocks there because they were growing in the grass, and I got tired of pulling out the grass and the weeds around the raspberries, and eventually I just let them grow because it was too much work, and let them grow where they plant themselves. Hello, 40 and broke. Welcome to my backyard. This is my balm border garden. I apologize. I disconnected a couple of times, and I wasn't sure if I would come back, but apparently YouTube let me come back, so very kind of them. This is my bulb border garden here, right underneath my 5 variety cherry tree. Give you a better look at my cherry tree. This is also a combination fruit tree from Costco. It is 10 years old, just starting to flower now, getting its blooms. And this tree has Van, Sam, Rainier, Le Pen, and Bing cherry varieties. So this border here has daffodils and lots of daylilies, as well as wildflowers. And in the spring it is mostly sunny, part shade, and in the summer it is part shade to full shade. And coming this way, this is a new addition to the garden that I created pretty much right after my garden supervisor, a golden retriever who was my best fur baby friend who just passed away 3 months ago. This is his memorial garden. I call it the Circle of Life garden. And I have both flowers and food and shrubs and trees in this garden. If you watch some of my older videos, he loved to be in my YouTube videos, and he loved to mutilate my food plants, my broccoli, my kale, my tomatoes. He was into gardening. He loved harvesting. He would harvest his own raspberries. So I made him a memorial food / ornamental garden. He also really loved the native ferns on Vancouver Island. Whenever I took him into the forest, he would always stick his nose into the ferns. And these are some ferns I had growing in my vegetable garden actually, so I transplanted them into his memorial garden. And that just seemed like the right place. There are strawberries in here. He loved eating strawberries. This is a little stone from my neighbor, very kindly gave that to me with one of his old balls. And some cabbage. He never got a chance to eat cabbage, but I'm sure he would have enjoyed it if he had the opportunity. And these are my windmill palm trees. I have 3 of them. I bought them on Facebook Marketplace about 7 years ago. And they were this big when I bought them. They were from a palm tree fanatic on Vancouver Island who is selling them for $3 each. I bought 4 of them and I currently have 3. It didn't die. One of them I gave away. And I grew them into these little trees from just tiny, tiny little seedlings that he had growing in his yard. And at the back we have crocosmias that are coming up. And this is actually where I spread many of his ashes. So it really is a memorial garden for him. A little bird feeder. And let's check out my milk jugs. If you've been around for a little while, you know that I love winter sowing seeds or spring sowing seeds. The easiest and, in my opinion, lazy way to garden if you want your vegetable and flower starters for super cheap and you don't do a lot of work. Let's take a look. So this is what I did. Late winter, early spring. All kinds of stuff here, more than you can imagine. And it's almost time to start planting. We have bok choy. And check it out. I'm gonna open it for you. Oops, let's see. They are growing well. These are bok choy sprouts. Holy bananas, I have so much work to do. There are hundreds of them in here. Wow. And next to this is, what is this? Giant mustard greens. Look at them. Oh my, I have a lot of work to do ahead of me. And do we have any other growth? A lot of these are, ooh, I see more green. We have spinach right here. Let's break open this one. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna put you down for a minute. Where can I put you? I'm doing this one-handed, so it's kind of tricky. Can you peer through there? No, you can't, really. Ooh, no, that's not open. Okay, there we go. The spinach greens, they're doing pretty well. Oh my goodness. Hi, Grandma Sandy. Hello. I didn't feel like doing an edited garden tour Saturday, so this is my garden tour Saturday this week. I'm doing a backyard tour. We've looked at all kinds of stuff, and there's still more to see. The garden is a good size. There's all kinds of stuff here, so I'm so happy you would have joined in for the afternoon. What else do we have? Oh my goodness. I didn't know this. I am shocked. I put nasturtium seeds out not that long ago, and look at this. I just peeked in my nasturtium container and holy bananas, there are sprouts. Look at that. That is so exciting. I cannot believe it. It hasn't even been very long. I'm gonna test the dryness. I haven't watered any of these since I did them, and some of them have been out here for over a month. There's still a little bit of moisture, but I think I'm gonna water later because it is really sunny. It is about 16 degrees right now in my backyard, and it feels like things are starting to dry up. So I don't want my seedlings to have any trauma, so I should probably water after the live stream. We also have Swiss chard. Did I show you that already? I don't think so. Or maybe we did. I'm losing my marbles sometimes. Oh boy. There we go. There's the Swiss chard ready to plant. Just scanning, looking. Oh, we do have more sprouts. What is in here? This is a lettuce. I'm not surprised the lettuce is sprouted. Holy bananas. I have so much work to do. Right there. That is work, but fun work. And what else? I have lots of things like squash and tomatoes in here, and cantaloupe and watermelon, but I don't expect any of that would have sprouted yet because they're kind of warm season crops, and I'm looking at the colder season ones. What is this one? Nope. I think a few more to check, but I think we've hit them all for the milk jugs. Let's see. Yeah, I think we've targeted all of them. Right here, this is a little container of peas that look so dry. They are just starting to sprout, and I definitely need to water a little bit later. And right in front of you, these are rock roses. I've talked quite a bit about rock roses on this channel. I have, hello, Nina and Lo, greetings. Good afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you are. And this is my backyard garden on Vancouver Island. Welcome. This is a rock rose, and I've talked about these a lot on my channel. I mostly talk about, my hair is a hot mess. Holy doodle. I can't fix it. I talk about the ground covers a lot, but I actually have both shrub rock roses as well as ground covers, and this is the shrub I'm going to show you. I don't show it very often on the channel. This is a semi-evergreen on Vancouver Island, and it is also called Pontilia. I'm so bad with the plant names. It is this is the information: 2 to 3 feet tall and 2 to 3 feet wide. It gets orange flowers. Cooler temperatures, they are more vibrant, and in hot temperatures, they are lighter. It is just starting to leaf out. It does lose most of its foliage on Vancouver Island. I am in a zone 7 to 8 on central Vancouver Island. You're in Toronto. That is so exciting. A fellow Canadian. Welcome. My goodness, I just cannot get these hairs under control. I need like a stylist or something. This is kind of embarrassing. Okay, back to the garden. Right behind my rock rose shrubs, I have a hibiscus. This was a rescue from my parents' garden, and it may look dead, but hibiscus is a very deceiving plant. A majority of the time, hibiscus is one of the last plants to leaf out in the garden and definitely doesn't flower until well into the summer. For me, that is like, I'd say July-ish is when it typically blooms, and it didn't even leaf out until, I'd say, June. It's kind of a weird plant. You've never seen an orange one, only seen yellow ones. Yes, this is orange, and believe it or not, comes in red too, and pink. So, we are going to check out some more plants on the slope here. This, and I'm looking very carefully for my snake friend, who is not really a friend, but I have sort of befriended him. We have a foxglove. These self-seeded my narrow garden on the other side of the fence that I'll do another update soon. And they're not, and I don't mind. I never actually planted them. I didn't even buy the seeds. Years ago, I went to a yard sale and I felt like I won the lottery. For $5, I got what was probably about 5,000 packages of old seeds. And I didn't care. They were actually from a company, mostly Renee's Garden Seeds. Probably shouldn't mention the name, but it doesn't matter. There were a few other companies mixed in, but it was primarily that company. And the seeds, a lot didn't work, but some did, and there were lots of mislabeled packages. I don't even remember what the foxglove came from, but there were no foxgloves, and I ended up with foxgloves. I have to be fairly certain that's where they came from because I never bought any like that. So I do believe it was a mislabeled seed package, which is totally fine. It was such a fun yard sale find, and I will probably never find that again. It had so many rare seeds in it. They're all gone. Most didn't work, but some of them did work. And that was one of the happy surprises from my yard sale treasure. So foxgloves, yes, it's very exciting. And these are poppy seedlings. We're gonna come this way now. We haven't gone too far over here. And we're going to check out a few more plants I haven't shown you yet. Oh dear. Sometimes the slope walking is a little more challenging than it looks. And believe it or not, I garden on this slope. But I sit down when I garden. This is the purple Abretia that I can never pronounce. This is the darker version that I didn't show you yet. I was waiting so long for it to bloom, and it is finally blooming. It's actually darker in person than the camera makes it look, and it is so beautiful. Purple is actually my favorite color, so I am so delighted to have this in my garden. It just brings me so much joy to see the color purple. I love these flowers so much. Right here, this is another creeping phlox propagation that is getting ready to bloom pretty soon. And yes, purple is a full color. This here is a columbine, and this is a purple when I renovated it. And here it is, and it is on the slope now, living its best life. And right beside it, I did something bellious. So I planted mint in my vegetable garden years ago. I made a big mistake, and it took me about 7 years to get rid of it. I had basically a hedge of mint that grew every season, and eventually with a lot of vigorous gardening, I mostly got rid of it, but a little bit comes back every year. And I decided I don't hate mint. I actually love mint, and I love peppermint tea. But I didn't want it in my vegetable garden. I wanted it somewhere where it could live its best life, and that is on the slope. So I put little bits of root into the slope in late winter, early spring when it just emerged, and look, it is growing, and that is actually super exciting. I am no longer cursing the mint. I'm actually treasuring it now. And I'm going to take a little bit and, oh no, I'm not. I was going to give it a taste test. I know what it tastes like. I almost pulled the root out, so we're not going to do that. But here it is, living its best life, and it does smell really good. And next, I'm going to, oh my goodness, I have a hair in my mouth. Hold on. I am going to show you my strawberries, and these are a little bit special strawberries. Probably not something you, well, maybe you've seen them before, but they're not your everyday strawberries. And we've got the shadow magic happening. I love shadows. They are so much fun. Right here, these are my alpine strawberries, and I grew these from seed, and for some reason I kept the seed package years later. This was from a company called West Coast Seeds, and I do not recommend them at all. This was the only good seeds I've ever gotten from West Coast Seeds. These are alpine strawberries. This is what the plant looks like, and I did grow it from this package. And I did the whole cold stratification in the refrigerator. They're a little tricky to grow, but these are the best strawberries I have ever eaten. They taste so different than your normal strawberry. They literally taste like cotton candy. That is the best way to describe them. And the berries themselves, as you've seen in the picture, I don't know if the picture does a good job. They don't get very big. They are quite small at maturity. Like, I'm gonna say they're like this tiny. Like, they're really, really petite and tiny and so cute and so delicious. So different than a normal strawberry. The only thing that, resembles the strawberry is the shape. Shape, I guess. And the plant. The plant looks like a strawberry plant, but they are like pale whitish orange in color, and the taste is completely different than a regular strawberry. Highly, highly recommend. It doesn't have to be from West Coast Seeds. You can probably get something similar from other seed companies, but this is considered an alpine strawberry, and if you find them in a seed place, or maybe even find them in a nursery, it's possible that nurseries are growing these. Highly recommend these for zone 7 to 8. I don't know how they grow in other zones, but 7 to 8, these will do really well in that climate. Next, what else should we check out? We can check out my vegetable garden. I was going to do a little update, but I know I have viewers that will only watch my live streams, and I have other viewers that will only watch my long videos. And then I have viewers that will only watch my shorts. So I think it's okay to do a little bit of duplication in your videos, like a little bit of an overlap between your lives, your shorts, and your long videos. So we're going to check out the vegetable garden, see what's going on up there. We are going to venture up the slope now. As I fall down the slope. No, I'm not falling, but I'm slipping. And here it is. I have all kinds of stuff going on. Let's start with checking out. These are my transplanted kale plants. They were all planted in the fall, and there are so many of them. I don't even want to count. I am going to be eating kale like there's no tomorrow. Yes, it is beautiful out here today on Vancouver Island, and 6 degrees is a little bit of chilly. We are getting on average about 6 to 8 degrees overnight, sometimes down to about 2, but most of the time it's like 6 to 8 overnight, and average temperature is 12 to 16 right now. So it is pretty toasty out most days. These are the kales. There are so many of them, and I think these are either broccoli or bok choy that is going to flower. I thought it was bok choy, and then I did a taste test of the flowers, and they taste like broccoli. So I'm not really sure what they are, but they do taste delicious, and I will put them in a salad. More kale. Lots of kale. We have, it's either garlic or onion. I think this is random garlic sprouting here. Coming this way, I've noticed my kale that I know for certain is kale is starting to flower, actually. I should probably pluck those off. However, if you've never tried it, kale flowers are actually exceptionally delicious. In my very first taste testing flowers video, I did that last summer, I sampled kale flowers, and they are so good. So maybe I'll let a few of them go to flower just because the flowers are really good for salads. Sunfrog, hello from sunny Vancouver Island. Nice to see you. I am doing a backyard garden tour today live for the first time ever. So this is my kale, and right beside it we have a whole bunch of chives, and I'm in the mood for chives. So let's have a little snack. Oh my god, I forgot how delicious these are. They are so good. On my face. Very, very delicious. I'm very healthy. I believe chives are similar to onions that actually have a fair bit of vitamin C in them. Very good for you. Back to the tour while I have my snack. We have more kale in this corner. So much kale. And over here we have a combination of, at the back, those are crocosmia flowers. And then we have random garlics here and there. And this is a pea trellis. And I actually don't see peas sprouting. We'll take a closer look. No. I don't notice any pea sprouts yet. Interesting. I think they're not going to sprout in this quadrant. However, we've got more garlic down there. These are the cabbages I planted in a recent video, and they are putting on lots of new growth. There's a few of them back there. Lots of garlic. I'm gonna have garlic coming out of everywhere. And I definitely won't be having any vampires around here with the amount of garlic I am growing. This is a no vampire zone. Coming this way, this is my Chicago hardy fig tree. No action there yet. Other than the crocosmias that are coming up, I have another purple columbine at the back, another one there. Lots and lots and lots of garlic, but I have peas under this trellis. Can you see that? They are starting to sprout, so that is exciting. There's another one way at the back. See if I can get closer. There's another pea right here. Good news. And another one there. And a cabbage. Now, I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. A spoiler for my channel. If you saw my rebellious tomato planting video, you know that I was up to no good in the garden. And I'm going to show you results. I am going to do a video update on this because I know that a lot of the people watching this video will never watch a live stream. So I'm going to just show you what happened with my tomato planting experiment. These were all tomatoes I started in my indoor food garden, and they were getting too big for the house, so I decided to put them outside. And I did get some comments talking about how that wasn't a good idea, and I did mention it doesn't matter to me if they died because I planted so many that I probably have too many. But they didn't all die. There are a couple of tragedies and lots of them are doing well. Let's take a look. So this is my Dollarama greenhouse kit right here, and that's where I planted those homegrown indoor tomatoes. And let's see how they're doing. Gonna have to take off my pegs, I think. Where are they? Right here. Let there be light, little tomato plant. So this one is doing fine. The yellow, a little bit of yellowing on the leaves, but I'm not complaining about that because overall it's doing totally fine. And there have been some cooler temperatures, so I'm not complaining about the discolored leaf. Next is another tomato plant, and guess what? It's doing okay despite the fact it's been out in a little bit of colder temperatures. The leaves have slight discoloring, but nothing that I'm too concerned about. My nasturtium that was homegrown might have kicked the bucket, but it might not have. I think it did, but I'm not going to pull it out yet. Coming this way, this tomato plant died, and that is fine. I don't mind. I didn't expect them all to live. Coming this way, this tomato plant is doing okay. It's a little tilted, but there's nothing wrong with it. And there's a little marigold that has seen better days, but it is still alive. And next we have a basil seedling. It might have kicked the butt. Well, no, it still has life. It's clinging to life. This one on life support. Cucumber died and tomato died. But that tomato was the one that I showed in the very beginning of that video where I broke the roots. So there is no surprise that it died. However, I am leaving it in the ground because sometimes tomatoes will propagate. I'm assuming it is dead, but I'm not pulling it out because plants have surprised me so many times over the years. I'm going to give it another couple of weeks at least to see if anything happens. And if nothing happens, it can come out. But there's no harm in leaving it for a little bit longer. I'm definitely not ready to plant more of my plants, even though I do have more in my house, as well as in my milk jugs. So there's no shortage of plants or seeds. I have a lot of seeds too. Let's flip around. Just gonna put my greenhouse back on. Doesn't really need it right now, but I will probably forget if I don't put it back on. So we're just gonna do that. But I did forget where I put my peg. I'll have to find it later. Otherwise it will blow everywhere. Let's take a look at my peas in the containers. Oh dear, I have a slither in my finger. Let's see if I can take that out. I got poked by something. I don't even know what. You probably can't even see it, but I'm just gonna take that out for a second. It's going to drive me nuts. Okay. I think I had 3 of them actually. 4 slithers. Who knows what they're from anyways. Okay. Fingers are clean. So these are my pea plants. I started these actually in about January when it was warmer out before the snow, and they are doing really well. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep them in here or transplant them into my trellises. I'm thinking transplanting might be a good idea. I have more over here. I think they might do better transplanted into the ground. Not sure actually, but that's what I'm leaning towards. And here I'm going to show you where my mint has originated from. This is the mint we looked at in the slope, and there is lots of it growing here. Let's do a little sample. These leaves are so good. Oh my goodness. Nothing beats fresh mint. Some people don't like mint, and that's totally fine, but if you're a mint lover, oh my god, mint is so delicious. You can eat it as a garnish. You can make a tea with it. You could make like a lemonade mint flavored. You could make all kinds of stuff with mint. So good and grows so abundantly. Oh, that was delicious and refreshing. So, what else do we have going on? My raspberries are just starting to sprout. I have all kinds of different raspberries in here. Just getting new growth now. And we have a few carrots. I did take most of them out, but I left a few in, and there's the foliage. And let's look at my lettuce. I have some lettuce that I planted last fall in this garden. I direct sowed it in the garden actually. And I think spinach too. And let's look at it now. I had a whole bunch and some of it died, but some of it is doing okay. These little seedlings here, these were actually supervisor protections, but he is gone. I left them though because I do think that sometimes birds eat seedlings, and I didn't want to take any chances with the birds. They seem to be doing okay, all these little seedlings, and these ones disappeared, but that's fine. I'll take them out pretty soon, these containers. And I have more lettuce to show you. Right here, this lettuce is so beautiful. It's almost too beautiful to eat. I could start harvesting it, but I'm gonna let it get a little bit bigger because I just absolutely love it. There's quite a few plants here, but I don't want to touch them because they're growing so well. I'm not going to transplant anything. Just going to let them grow a bit bigger before I actually start harvesting them. Next, we're going to look at what I have right beside me, another berry bush. Right over here, this is a hascat berry, also called a honeyberry. Not the most common berry. Oh, it's kind of, the kale is in the way here. It is right here. I have 3 of these. There's another one here. And they do have their flowers on them right now. And in my flower tasting video, I did do a flower tasting test of this plant. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking out that video. And if you're unfamiliar with these berries, this is what they look like. Honeyberry. This is one of the original tags. This berry needs both a female and a male plant to produce any berries. And these remind me of a blueberry alternative. What's really nice about honeyberries or hascat berries is that unlike blueberries, they flower much earlier and they produce berries much earlier than blueberries. Flavor-wise, I feel like they're pretty similar to a blueberry. Some people would disagree with that, but my own opinion is that they're pretty similar to blueberries. Maybe not as juicy, but to me it doesn't matter. And the berries are actually usually bigger. They kind of grow it, just like the picture, they grow elongated. And they're really, really good. I highly recommend them. I don't know why they're not more popular actually. I know blueberries are so popular, but hascat berries, not so much. Now, what else should we look at? I feel like we've seen a good portion. Maybe we're gonna check out my nectarine tree and I'll show you my creeping thyme slope. I don't think I showed that today. We're being pretty thorough today on this garden tour. Since it's live, I feel like I have more freedom to show you more things. Let's look at my blueberry bushes. This is a super confused blueberry bush. I talked about this in one garden tour fairly recently. This bush, once again, had a tragedy, and I am not blaming the supervisor on this one. This blueberry bush was 100% my fault. The incident that happened with it when it was just planted in the first year, I took my weed whacker, and of course not on purpose, and I weed whacked it down to about this big, and it had 2 leaves left. And once again, I did not know if it would survive, but it did. And ever since then, it's been very confused. It literally seemed to get its seasons mixed up. Let me show you the leaves. It has both fall leaves and new leaves on the bush at the same time. It is so strange. And it's been doing this ever since the year I mauled it down to a stick. It is very, very confused. But the benefit of that is that it produces blueberries so much later in the season than everything else. So in the end, although it was tragic and it took a long time for the plant to recover, it made a really good recovery. And strangely enough, once it started to recover and become big enough, it actually started to produce better than most of my other bushes. So it's kind of a happy ending in a sense. Holy smokes, I need like a hairspray or something. What is going on? Like static electricity in my hair. Like what in the world? Okay, yeah, so that's the story of that blueberry bush. I do have other blueberry bushes. Come this way. You're getting a full history of my garden today. Holy doodle, I am just spilling the beans on the garden. And this blueberry bush was planted at the exact same time as the one I just showed you. It is a different variety. And if you look at the leaves, there are no fall leaves on here. These are all new growth leaves that is coming out. I cannot, my grammar sometimes is terrible. And they have flower buds that are starting to form. Look at that, that is so exciting. But the other bush seems to think it's fall. It is so confused, but that's okay. Confusion is allowed in this garden. If the plants want to remain confused, that's their own prerogative. I'm not going to stop them. Oh, we forgot to check out my grow bags. Let's do that. If you have saw my tomato planting video, I forgot to show you, or maybe I forgot to show you earlier today. I also planted those indoor grown tomatoes in grow bags with little DIY miniature greenhouses that I made mostly from garbage bags and a few other items. Let's look at those tomatoes. So here we have my container tomatoes, and in case you're wondering, it is too early to plant tomatoes on Vancouver Island. Don't do this unless you really have protection for them. I just took chances because I have lots of plants and I don't care if they die. But in theory, it is too early. Most people plant between early May and early June is typical tomato planting season outdoors here. I'm just playing Russian roulette in the garden, and that is totally fine. But if you're trying to do things the right way, don't follow my advice for planting tomatoes. Oh shit, I just broke the pail I was sitting on, but that's okay. So we have my greenhouses here. These are little tomatoes that I put in here, and they're around tomato cages. We're going to take a peek and see how they're doing. They were planted at the same time as the ones over here, and they are doing fine. They're actually doing better than fine in these greenhouses. They are just loving their life in these little garbage bag greenhouses. And another one here, which is doing fine. In case you didn't notice, they're all different styles of greenhouses with these garbage bags. I got creative and used a little spaghetti strainer here that was a supervisor protection. There are also marigolds in some of these, as well as basil. There's another little tomato plant. I think it loves being in this black garbage bag. And another one in here. Well, you can't even see that, but there is a tomato plant in here. Let's see. There, you see a little bit of it. And this one is really hidden. Let's see, can we open up this greenhouse? Oh, uh-oh. It's alive, but it doesn't look as good as the other ones. But that's okay, it's still getting new growth, so that's fine. Put that back together. And I think that is, I will show you my lemon balm. I told you it was hard to get rid of. This I will never be able to get rid of. Under this blueberry bush, it took over, and I used a pickaxe and I went hard at it, and I could not get this lemon balm out. It is here to stay. I think that is enough garden tour for the day. Oh boy, I was about to sit down and I heard, oh my god! Can you see that? Oh shit. There is a snake in my garden. This is not my thing. I see it moving. Where the hell did it go? Oh my god! Do you see it? It's like moving over there by the fence. I'm terrified of snakes. I kind of have the zoom on, but I wanted to show you. I can't even see it, but I know it's still here. It did not go out of the garden, so I'm going to get a little further away. I'm starting to get a little more comfortable with the snakes, but I still don't like them. I've been terrified of them my whole entire life. But this year, the snake and the lizard have been coming out so much more frequently that I'm starting to make myself get more comfortable with them. I love lizards. I don't love snakes. I don't actually think that's the same snake that has been greeting me on my rock slope daily. I think it's a different one. I think there are actually 3 snakes in my garden right now. One in the front garden, one that lives on the slope down below, and I think this is a different one. It looks smaller. The other 2 looked quite a bit larger. So I don't love that, but that is life in the garden. Thank you so much for joining me on today's live garden tour. I hope you get out into your gardens sometime soon and enjoy the great outdoors. Bye-bye.